uh, General City Council meeting for Wednesday, April 10th, 2019. I'd like to just make the audience aware that we do have Councilman Smith, who is on the phone with us, so you may have heard him calling just a few minutes ago. So he is present, and therefore we do have a quorum for our meeting tonight, which does require 3 of the City Council to be here. Councilman Henderson and Councilwoman Martin have been excused. Councilman Henderson may show up later, but for now they have been excused. And we'll go ahead and start our meeting with Pledge of Allegiance, which will be offered by Riley Tomasic. Did I get that right? So if you please come up and lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. Okay, repeat the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your participation in our meeting. Any comments or recognitions by the council today? No? Okay. I would like to make just one quick comment. Starting tomorrow, if I'm looking at our communications director who's not here, Camp Williams will be doing artillery testing between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for the next couple of days. So if you hear loud booms, please be aware that it is our good neighbors, the military that are right next door. So I just want the public to be aware of that. We will move on to our public comment portion of the meeting. Audience members may bring any item to the mayor and council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law does prohibit the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda. If you are here to speak about any of the items that have a public hearing later, so we have one for, it looks like a stormwater fee, as well as item 9.1, which is an ordinance. If you'd like to speak to those, you'll have an opportunity to do that at that time. So with that, we will go ahead and open up the public comment. Please. If you please state your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Johnny Bobo, B-O-B-O. I live on the corner of 7300 West and Main Street. I'm only here, please, to just ask if at all possible to budget for finishing that street.
For which street?
Can, as soon as possible.
7300 West.
Being on that corner, you've seen, this is a wet winter, and a future like that corner presents now would be just really sad for many of us there. So I just wanted to come tonight to, in person, plea for budgeting consideration for our street to be as nice on our end as it is on the other end. And so thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
No, absolutely. And you'll have more opportunities to address us on that as well. Once we've had an opportunity to review it, we'll make the budget public. And then you're welcome to contact us and reach out to us again, and we'll have public hearings for that as well.
I will be sure and do that.
Okay.
Thanks very much to all.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Tomasic. Okay, so I'm going to talk to, is it Troy? Yeah. Okay, afterwards. But I just had a couple questions. So on the street, Rosecrest Road, you know where you come to the stop sign and then you go down the hill past the 2 parks in Blackridge. It's like a raceway there. I've talked to past mayors and they've never wanted to do anything with that street, and it's kind of a safety concern too. So I was just wondering, is there any way to put like speed bumps or something, because regardless, it's just day and night 24/7. My house backs up to it, so I never get peace, like with the diesel trucks. It's just bad. So I don't know if there's something that can be done to help slow the traffic down through that area. Okay, and second of all, my daughter is embarrassed that I'm asking this, but I live on, where do I live? I'm so nervous. Adeline Court, And is there any way to get restrictions changed so we can have little goats?
So that is a great question, and what we would direct you to is we direct you to our, probably Gordon on this one. And he can work with you on what it would take, and we can work with you as well on what that might entail. I know that we've gone over livestock in the community before, in residential zones before, so I can't remember right offhand what that particular ordinance is, but they'd be happy to show that to you, and if we need to look at making some changes, I'm sure the council will be happy to hear any requests.
Well, and I know they changed it so we could have chickens, but I love the little goats.
Okay. And then, yeah, absolutely. So go ahead.
So you're Gordon?
Oh, okay. We're gonna.
So when would I?
Guy, and this is your goat guy.
So that's actually Michael. He's our city planner.
What are you? What did you say?
Goat guy, road guy.
Oh,
Michael
Hey.
Malloy.
So I'm sure they will enjoy talking to you.
I'm just kidding.
So
And Linda, if you want to email me, I'd be glad to forward you to their contact information too, so you get
Okay.
directed to the
And
right.
I'll talk to you about the other issue too.
Okay,
I'll email you.
awesome.
and then I'm sure our chief will talk to you about our
Bonus.
traffic concerns.
Or they could just simply hand you their
Hand you
business
the
cards.
business
Good
cards.
job. I do. Welcome.
And there he goes. He's already ready. He's out doing it. This just serves as a good reminder that our new Harriman Police Department does actually have a place on their website where you can go in and submit traffic concerns, and they will do their best to address those traffic concerns via the website. And so if we continue to have problems or issues or anywhere, somebody that might be watching that might have someone near their house, please feel free to go onto their website. It's harrimanpd.org. harrimanpd.org. Go to their traffic page, and you can submit those concerns there.
And I can tell you that they're effective because we'd had several complaints in my area. And I was in activity the other day, and several people bemoaning getting speeding tickets who live in the area because the police were actively enforcing the speed limit. So be careful what you wish for.
And we have a lot more control over our police department now, and so we will happily address those with our chief. So, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, seeing no further comments, we will go ahead and close the public comment section of our meeting. Any committee reports from the council?
Nope.
Okay. We will move on. Thank you, Councilman Smith. We will move on to item 8.1. That was a presentation of a 2019 Outstanding Facility Award. It looks like we have continued that to a future meeting. So we will see, even though that was on our agenda, we will see that in a future meeting. So we will next hear from our item 8.2. We will hear a legislative session presentation, and that will be presented by, he was not able to attend. Okay, so if you'd like to get some updates on the legislative process for this last year, please feel free to watch our recorded session from our work meeting where we went over in detail many of the bills that were debated and passed this last legislative session. All right, with that, we'll move on. We're moving through this fast today. Item 9.1, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance approving and appropriating a monetary contribution to Ace Hardware not to exceed the amount of $20,000 payable over 4 years, not to exceed $50,000 in any 1 year. 5,000, thank you, 5,000 in any 1 year. Gordon.
All right, thank you. This is an item that we've talked about in the past, and I want to give a little bit of a recap to this briefly. Harriman Corners, this is on the intersection of 134 and 5600 West, had not really developed for many years. It was a commercial site, and for a number of years, the city had been working with Ace Hardware to get a commercial anchor into that project to help get that area stimulated. And
one of the drawbacks that they had stated was the difficulty of the first few years with the price and everything, making a profit with their store. And so in order to get them to commit to build their building, which is currently under construction, we talked to them and agreed to give them, of their sales tax, $5,000 a year for 4 years to help them their startup costs. Since that time, the whole area has developed. We have every pad now full, so it's been a very good commercial project. However, in order to do this, we have to come back, have a public hearing, and have the council vote on this. So let me just show you. You see the blue outline is where they're located. Smith's is across the street. This is their store. They've come in, they've gotten all the approvals, paid all their fees, and they're moving forward. And this is the tax incentive. This only comes from the taxes they generate. If they don't generate enough taxes, they don't get paid. So there's no risk to the city or any other funds that we may receive. Any questions?
No, this is something the council has spoken about. We've discussed it with the applicant. Is the applicant here tonight?
No, I'm speaking for them.
And that's fine. And just to once again clarify, I know that we've tried to do this before, but for our public, this money that is coming is money that's coming from the tax from that location. So if this facility, or if this particular company does not manage to bring in the needed tax share or the tax revenue into the city to meet that, it's not coming out of general funds, it's not coming from taxpayer dollars, it's only coming from their own sales tax that they're generating at this location, not to exceed $5,000 in any 1 year and not to exceed $20,000 over the course of the 4 years. So this is them, getting some of their tax money to help them go up, but if the business wouldn't get, it's not like we would get this money if the business wasn't there in the first place, so.
Right.
And just to clarify, the trigger, at whatever trigger point, starts the 4 years. And so if in that first year, if they only generated $2,000, that's all they would get. So that reduces their overall $20,000 by, $3,000 that year and so forth. So everybody understands that it doesn't carry forward. It's only if they generate it.
Right, and this is really beneficial from the city standpoint in that we were getting no taxes from this property. It was vacant. Now we have stores going in. The property tax goes to the, different agencies and so forth. And this was a good way to stimulate getting the economic growth going there. And I think an ACE is going to be great for our community. Even
though they're not getting, they may be getting their own sales tax, they're still going to be paying their property taxes.
Right.
They're going to still be paying all those other things
all
that
the
help
impact
fund
fees, everything.
the rest of our city. And so they will still be contributing to our city. This will be a positive for our community.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions from the council? Okay. With that, this is up for a public hearing. So we will have a public hearing at this time. The same rules will apply as earlier. If you would like to speak to this item, please come to the podium at this time. Okay, seeing none, I will accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Clint?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. The public hearing is closed on that item. Any further discussion among the council? If not, I will accept a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-07, approving and appropriating a monetary contribution to Ace Hardware not to exceed the amount of $20,000 payable over 4 years and not to exceed $5,000 in any 1 year.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, that motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to item 9.2. On this item, we have discussed this as a council earlier in our work meeting. And while this is a public hearing, we do intend to leave this public hearing open for at least another meeting, as this is a fee increase to our residents, and we want to make sure they have ample opportunity to come and to speak to this. So with that, this is item 9.2, public hearing related to the proposed storm water utility fee. and we'll have Blake give us a quick presentation on that.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So several months ago, we put out an advertisement for qualified engineering firms to bid to complete a stormwater rate utility fee study for us. Went through our proposals, and Bowen Collins was selected. Since then, we have been working fairly feverishly to complete this study and this analysis. It all spurred from being audited by the state EPA a couple of years ago, and findings of our stormwater program. We were deficient in some areas, and so this is how we're going to address not being efficient or being deficient in those areas. So I'd like to introduce Craig Bagley. He's with Bowen Collins and Associates. He's the principal in charge for this project. He and his team completed the study, and I'm going to kind of turn the time over to him to go through the study findings and provide you this presentation.
As Blake said, I'm Craig Bagley. I'm glad to be here with you tonight. I'll just go through this presentation and talk to the slides. During this presentation, I'd like to just address these 4 questions. What is a stormwater fee? Why does Harriman need one? How will the proposed stormwater fee work? And what is the fee that we recommend that you implement? So the first question, what is a stormwater fee? So currently, Harriman does have stormwater needs, and as Blake just mentioned, you've got a stormwater program to run. Currently, all of your stormwater funds, all the money you spend to fund your stormwater program is coming out of the general fund. So currently, you can see we've got this graphic that shows you've got money coming into the general fund from various sources. Right now, most of that goes to fund your city needs, but part of that is peeled off to fund stormwater needs. What we're proposing is to do what other cities across the state have done, is to basically establish a new enterprise fund that's dedicated to stormwater. So we can get stormwater out of the general fund. So your general fund now goes to run the city, and stormwater fees can run the stormwater program. So this graphic shows, this is a graphic of Salt Lake County. So the outside border is the Salt Lake County border. So you can see the green areas are municipalities in Salt Lake City or in Salt Lake County that have already adopted stormwater utilities and charge stormwater user fees. The yellow is Salt Lake County itself. They're in the process of adopting a fee. So you can see that the blue down in the lower left-hand portion of the graphic is Harriman. You're in the process. Alta is up there, and I think we've got Cottonwood Heights is the only other one, and I think they're in the process of adopting the fee as well. So when you look at just Salt Lake County, Harriman is one of the few municipalities that is still funding the stormwater program out of general fund. This graphic shows not only for Salt Lake County but across Utah what other municipalities are charging, from $3 at the low end to about $13 per ERU, an equivalent residential unit per month. And the ones in yellow are your neighboring cities. So Bluffdale's about $5, Riverton's $6, South Jordan is $7. So why does Harriman need a stormwater fee? The biggest reason, Blake just mentioned, Salt Lake City was the first municipality to adopt a stormwater fee back in the 1990s, and it came at the same time that the EPA came out with their stormwater program as part of the Clean Water Act. They had the Phase 1 cities, and those were the UDOT, Salt Lake County, and Salt Lake City were all part of that Phase 1. And with that comes a lot of requirements, and it's really an unfunded government mandate. You have no choice. They issue a permit, and and the permittee is required to do certain things. So as part of the city's permit, of which the state issues, they have to implement 6 minimum control measures to minimize the potential for polluting stormwater to the maximum extent practicable. So that includes a lot of inspection during construction, a lot of training, a lot of internal programs, and there's just a lot of things. And as Blake said, when they came in and did an audit a couple of years ago, I think you got a 60-plus page letter saying these are your deficiencies that if you don't correct next time we come by, you'll probably be getting fines. So there's really nothing you can negotiate out of. It's just something that we have to do. So the new utility will provide a reliable funding source to fund the stormwater program to the level that it needs to be funded. So right now, we'll get to that in a minute, but we understand that our experience has been that if you have stormwater needs trying to compete with other items in the general fund, stormwater tends to be at the bottom of the priority list, and it's easy to let those things go. So this is a way to kind of get rid of that competition and just not have to worry about funding it out of the general fund to the level that it needs to be funded at. So if we do this, you know, the stormwater fund would not have to compete with other critical budget programs. And as we looked at your general plan, I think there was a line in there that said that there were like 16 out of 16 budget issues call for increased pressure on the general fund, and this would help that. So to be equitable and defensible, right, all customers need to pay in this program. The current situation is, if you look at this piece of Swiss cheese, is that only taxable properties currently participate in funding the programs through at least through taxes through the general fund. But with the new program, everybody pays. So if we liken the stormwater program to a multi-layer sandwich, we've really got, there's a lot to it. So we've listed these 5 items. So the stormwater fee would cover operation and maintenance. It would cover the regulatory compliance, and those are you add those 2 together, and those are the biggest part. Any debt service for stormwater, if you had bonded for a stormwater project, that would cover that. Capital expenditures that are non-impact fee related, and then an operating reserve fund. So after going through a detailed analysis, these are the items that we recommended for the first year. There's each of the line items is you have no debt service, and you add each of those up, and we end up with just a little over $1.5 million. And that includes to follow good fiscal policy, we're recommending that over a 4-year period that you build up a little reserve in your operating fund. So that includes that in this first, in the fee. So how will the stormwater fee work, and how will it be administered? The standard of the industry is that you use impervious area as a measure. So impervious area is generally representative of a parcel's contribution to the stormwater runoff and its impact to the system. In Harriman, we've done some work, and we've determined that a typical single-family residence, standalone residence, has about 4,000 square feet of impervious area. So that is, we liken everything to that. So we charge a fee for one ERU, or one equivalent residential unit. And we've divided the customers in the city into 4 classes, as you see here. Single-family residential would be class 1. Class 2 would be multifamily residential, would include townhomes and duplexes. Class 3 would be multifamily residential, more dense, which would be condominiums and stacked housing. And then class 4 would be those parcels, or those developments that have much larger impervious areas, your commercial, institutional, and then we lumped apartments in that class as well. So you see here is an example. Class 4 would be the picture that we've got here on the right, where you've got a typical church and you see the roof and the parking lot and how much impervious there is there. So breaking down each of those customers, we have about 16,075 ERUs currently. About 70% of those are single-family residential. And it's interesting, if you look at the numbers here on this chart, that from a percentage of accounts, about 1.5% are Class 4, but they account for about 17% of all of the impervious area in the city. So to be fair and to incentivize people, particularly the Class 4, only the Class 4 customers, we recommend instituting a fee credit program, or offering credits to where if they do something on site that reduces runoff to the system, or if they do something that improves water quality to help you meet the water quality goals, you give them a credit. So what we've done is, if we made the assumption that of the existing Class 4 customers, that what we have to do is figure out how many ERUs we can spread the cost through, spread our cost for our fee. And we assumed that 15% of those Class 4 customers would apply for credits or build something where they could earn a credit, and that the average credit that they would earn would be 30%, and that pretty much all new Class 4 customers would do something that would earn a 30% credit. And that changes the numbers a little bit. In the end, what we've done is we've recommended a $7 per ERU, $7 per month fee per ERU, and this graphic kind of shows the budget that we prepared. It's interesting when you look and see from historic to projected, the biggest part is that you just haven't been doing the permit compliance items for the most part, and you've been doing some O&M, but when we look at each of those budget items, we're recommending a $7 per ERU per month fee, and then we've looked at projected growth, and if you adopt this fee, it will fund a program. I know it's a new program, and then you go out down 2 or 3 years, and then if you need to, we could adjust it. Yes.
Can I interrupt really fast? Just for the public consumption on this, I just need everyone to be really clear on this graph, because I don't want anyone to look at this and think, oh, so now you're all of a sudden decided you want to make a new program and you want to charge us a bunch of money for it? Because look, you got by just fine in 2016 and 2017 without spending a bunch of money. I just want to reiterate the point that you made earlier, that this is because we are not in compliance with the state statute on this. We have to implement this program, or we're going to be paying millions of dollars worth of fines for this, which money goes nowhere. So we need to implement the program. It's mandated by the state. So it's not because we want to do something really cool and we think this will be great and we want everyone to have to help pay for it. It's because it's mandated and we have to implement it. Sorry, this graph is perfect to illustrate some confusion on that.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions on this graphic? This is basically the graphic in table form where, with the $7 per month, fiscal year by fiscal year, with the revenue that we project, based off the growth numbers that we receive from the city. And then just to show some sample fees, Here's a picture of just a single-family residence, $7 per month. A townhome or duplex would be $4.90 per month. A condominium or stacked housing would be $4.20 per month. And then in the class 4, we've listed several examples here for the commercial, industrial, apartment complexes, industrial. So these would be based off the $7 per month ERU before any credits. And so City Hall, $747 per month. A typical Maverick gas station would be about $70 per month. The Copper Mountain Middle School would be $758 per month. The Smiths commercial area, $649 per month. The Copperwood apartment complex, $1,041 per month. And a typical church, about $181 per month. That's the end of my presentation. Do you have any other questions?
Blake, if you'll stand up too. Can you just, I know we discussed this in a previous meeting, just to provide a little bit more clarification. What is the expected fine if we were not to comply with this program?
That's a great question. I don't have a good estimate of what that would be. It could go all the way up to, I would say, $1 million per day until you're in compliance is the threat. I know that Salt Lake County was fined a certain amount of money. It was in a few $100,000, I believe, but they also had requirements to hire certain people, and they put some specific restrictions.
Worst case scenario, we can be looking at saving a day and a half worth of fines by not doing this program, or we can do the program and not have to worry about the fines. And if we got the fines, we would still be required to do the program anyways.
Yeah.
So this is really, from a fiscal standpoint, a no-brainer. The other thing that I would like to add as well, and I know that we mentioned this, but we want to pull this out as well, is the importance of doing this as a fee and not as a tax. As a fee, all entities that have property will pay into the stormwater system. That means that churches and schools and government organizations, the county, any property owner essentially in our city will help maintain the infrastructure that they use. As you can see, we expect the city will have some responsibilities for that as well. But regardless of how this is, by doing it that way, taxpayers are not subsidizing these other organizations. They are not subsidizing the churches or the schools that put a lot into our system, but up to this point haven't paid taxes, so they haven't been contributing to our stormwater system. And so by doing this as a fee, as not as a tax, we're taking that burden off of our residents, which we are being mandated by the state. We have no choice but to do this. We are spreading that among all entities participating and not just the tax-paying residents. So we're doing everything we can to ensure that this has as little impact as possible on our residents long term. And so I just wanted to make sure that we pointed that out as well. I know that Councilwoman Orn made some great points here as well, that we don't really have a choice here, and we're trying to do everything we can to mitigate it for our residents, but it's something that's coming, and we really just don't have any other choice from a fiscal responsibility standpoint other than doing it this way. Clinton, did you have any questions or comments before I open the public hearing?
Just really to reiterate what has already been said, and that is that this is we're going through all the necessary steps to implement a program that we're mandated to implement. Now we want, obviously, after the presentation, we want to hear the public's comments on that so that we can move forward. But this is something that one way or another we have to find the fundings or the funding mechanism in order to fund this program moving forward. So thank you for the presentation.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. So with that, we will go ahead and open up the public hearing. Once again, the same rules do apply. So if you have a comment that you would like to make regarding this particular item, please come up and state your name and make that comment at this time. It's changed colors.
Again, the right color. Teddy Hodges. Two quick questions. They're probably directly to the gentleman, or Blake. Who and what is this utility? Is it a corporation, and does it fall under the Utility Public Commission of the State of Utah, where it's regulated for fees and increases throughout the years, or decreases if we reach more population out here?
Okay. As we're done with our public hearing, we will happily have them come up and answer those for you, if they can. Any other at this time? Okay, with that, with seeing no further public comment or hearing at this time, I'll accept a motion to continue the public hearing to a future meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to a future meeting.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We will continue that. So we will have this on our agenda again in a future meeting where we will have another opportunity for the public to speak to us regarding this particular item. Now, with that, if you could try to address those questions that...
I can answer that if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
It's called a utility fee. However, it's administered by the city, and it is not subject to the Public Service Commission.
All right. Any other further discussion by our by the council? No. Okay. I think at this point, there's no further action. We can move on to our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
I will second.
Okay. Clint?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. That motion passes. Item 11.1, discussion and consideration of an ordinance to rezone 4.29 acres from A1 agriculture to Auto Mall Special District and C2 Commercial, located at approximately 5010 West, 12560 South. Michael.
Thank you, and I have a presentation if you have any questions on this. This is the fourth request for developing or accumulating property that we anticipate for a future auto mall. This particular request is being forwarded by a private property owner, James Horsley. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission and was recommended for approval to the City Council on a 4-0 vote. It does have a portion of the property is C2, which will be along 126 South. That will be for compatible commercial uses that will also support the overall development of the auto mall.
Do we have an image of this for the public?
We can, if we want to bring that up. That was in the planning, PowerPoint CC.
While we're waiting for that, does the council have any questions for Michael at this time?
I don't think questions. The only comment I really have on this particular item is, as far as the public goes, is just to recognize that there was a resident meeting on this, and all of those comments have been forwarded to the council, and we're very cognizant of the concerns as far as the lighting and things like that, and all those things will be addressed in the development phases of these things. There'll be many more opportunities to work together to make sure that the any negative impacts might be.
Yes, and I believe that this will appear on future agendas probably another 2 or 3 times as more properties become a part of this development proposal.
Yeah. And I guess as always, these can always be located on the packets too. These are always in the packets.
Here, I'll just go through these quickly. This is a vicinity map just showing where this property is in relationship to the broader community. Focusing in, you can see the two different zones that are being proposed. AMSD is the Auto Mall Special District, and then the C2 is a commercial zone. It is consistent with the Harriman City General Plan. The red area is a commercial zone, and you can see the property is highlighted there in yellow. And this is the overall plan that we've been working towards. Not all of these properties are currently in the Auto Mall zone, as we mentioned previously. And this is just a site plan for reference, just a concept again of what could potentially happen on this property. And again, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the proposal.
Can you go back to the image real quick? Oh, keep going. All the way down to the one more. That one right there.
Okay.
So this will, and it will be, as far as the council has indicated, it's our intent to continue that all the way through that property that's between the two on the map here that both say C2, and so you should see a similar zoning request come through for that as well in the future.
Correct.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'd be happy to accept a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-08, authorizing a zoning map amendment to rezone 4.29 acres of real property located at approximately 5010 west, 12560 south, from A1 agricultural to AMSD Auto Mall Special District and C2 commercial.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. Clint?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So for a few, that's the end of our items for this meeting. For our public's to be aware, our next meeting, which normally would have been scheduled for April 24th, has been canceled. Many of members of our city council will be at the Utah League of Cities and Towns convention that was happening that week. The next Planning Commission meeting, which is also April 18th, has been canceled as well. So the next Planning Commission meeting will be May 2nd at 7 p.m. and the next City Council meeting will be at May 10th. And that work meeting will start at 5 p.m. and the general meeting will start at 7 p.m. Please be aware on our upcoming events, we do have our Easter Basket Bash, which is coming up this weekend, the April 13th at 10 a.m. at Butterfield Park. Please feel free to bring your families. And then we do have community fishing classes coming up at the Cove, starting on April 12th. And then we also have our Hungry Harriman at Crane Park starting April 22nd, where we have our food trucks come over the course of the summer. So that will begin at the end of April.
I just have a quick question on that event, the Basket Bash. I thought that there was some things before 10. Is there some activities before 10?
Yes, there are. There'll be vendors, there'll be food vendors there. Fire will be arriving. The special needs starts at 9:30.
Okay, perfect.
So the mascot picture taking part is at 9 o'clock, and the actual hunt will start at 10.
Okay,
cool. It will be over by 10:02.
Exactly.
So
come at 9 and get your pictures taken so you don't miss the 10 o'clock event.
Thank you for that. So we will go ahead and I'll accept a motion to end our meeting and go back into work meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very much. Thank you for staying, Teddy.